think today be quite good to look into the idea of freedom. You could look at freedom as an idea in itself, just the state of freedom, the quality of freedom, the idea of freedom. Or you could look at freedom in relationship to other things, things that you know. So you could say there's freedom from one thing and going to another thing, going from one country to another, one relationship to another, one belief system to another, one power structure to another. You go from one book to another. Or you have history and time, chronology, and you're ill and then you're well again. You feel free from that pain, or you've been imprisoned and you're set free. So I think it's a word that does really apply to everybody throughout their life. The child running around outside, you feel, has a certain sense of freedom, and the animals running about, and just the plants growing, and the trees growing, and the sun shining, and the stars. I think there's a kind of implicit objective freedom in the universe. When you say to be natural, I think you imply a kind of freedom. And then there's the freedom to express yourself, to say what you think, or to paint a picture, or to play music. Freedom of speech. And human rights. Freedom to live or die, the freedom to kill or not to kill, or the freedom to commit suicide or not to commit suicide. Which are very kind of powerful decisions. And of course the kind of philosophical idea of free will versus determinism. Is the universe purely mechanical and deterministic? Is the brain mechanical and deterministic? Is your thought deterministic? Your habits, your rituals, someone like Krishnamurti, I think it was his second book. His first book was The First and Last Freedom, and I think his second book was Freedom from the Known, because he had a problem with knowledge. So the known means that knowledge, which is produced by thought and stored in the memory, for him was a big problem. I mean, he would see knowledge as imprisoning you in your consciousness. And if you were intelligent, you would work out a way of getting out of your consciousness, as it were, and being free from the known. When I came under the influence of Krishnamurti, I already had a sense of spiritual freedom, but I was quite young and I was barely aware of spirituality not long after my awakening. And in the world of spirituality, there's certain authorities and traditions and religions and all of that. So I didn't, even though I felt empowered with my own sense of freedom and enlightenment, I didn't have the inner confidence to think that I could stand alone and be a spiritual teacher or something like that. So I went off to India with the idea that I would meet other people who would enlighten me, as it were, to the process that I was involved in. And so even though I had that sense of freedom and enlightenment, what the book said when I read them was that you had to practice, you had to study yourself, you had to self-observe, or you had to go through all kinds of initiations, because there's all these levels of consciousness. So it's understandable that a young person new to the field of spirituality wouldn't think that they could suddenly be at the top, as it were, you know, the top of the hierarchy, as it were. And I think that was the problem. I think that instinctively you grow up with this sense of older people knowing more than you, people being in a sense of power and authority, and in a sense more free than you as a child. They've been through school, they're working, they're travelling the world, they have money in their pocket, etc. So it's understandable that unless you're brought up in a particular society, say for instance India, where quite young people can be acknowledged as awakened. I mean, Krishnamurti himself was selected by the Theosophists at the age of 15 when he was in India to be the Maitreya, to be the Bodhisattva Maitreya. And they said that they could read his aura and his lives, his past lives, and felt that he was destined to be the Buddha Maitreya, the incarnation of love for the new age, and to be the world teacher, to bring in the age of Aquarius, etc. I mean, when I was a child, I was the youngest in the family, but I was given a lot of independence, so I grew up amongst my friends as being someone that made up their own mind. I didn't go along with the other people. Yes, I went along, we went playing in the woods and roaming around the town and things like that. But when it came to making decisions and somebody taking control of the group, I would never go along with that. I would never, you know, get into what's called the group mind psychology, you know, where you have a leader of a team or something, you know, the physically strongest or the mentally strongest would kind of control the other people. I never liked that. And I remember one time that we were walking in the fields in the countryside, because our house was right next to the countryside, and I was with a group of people, and they're probably a few of my friends and a few of my brother's friends who were much older, 5 years older, and we were just wandering around the fields, and I remember that somebody said in the group, "Oh, we're going this way," as if somehow, I don't know what I picked up, but I felt that when that person said we go this way, something, I don't know what happened, but I said to my brother, let's go the other way, let's go this way. And I remember my brother saying, no, we're going that way with them. And I felt very disappointed that he wouldn't come with me. I just remember that example. And